Most people think getting rich takes decades of relentless, soul-crushing work. They imagine a life of sacrifice, of grinding away their best years for the promise of a comfortable old age. But they're wrong. They are playing a game they are mathematically, psychologically, and spiritually guaranteed to lose. They follow a map that leads them in circles, wondering why they never arrive at their destination. It's because they don't get what wealth is really for. It isn't for buying luxury, impressing neighbors, or collecting fleeting status symbols. It's for buying one thing and one thing only: power. And once you truly understand this, once you shed the skin of the common man and adopt a Machiavellian mindset, the path to riches becomes brutally, beautifully simple. The average person is conditioned from birth to play a game that's completely rigged. These rules aren't written in any law book, but they're more binding than iron. They're taught in our schools, reinforced by our families, and celebrated by the masses. The game is called the honorable grind. Its core rules are simple and seductive. Trade your time for money, climb the corporate ladder, save diligently in a 401k, and one day, if you're lucky, you might earn the privilege of a comfortable retirement. Let's be brutally clear. This isn't a path to wealth. It's a path to sophisticated servitude. It's a beautifully decorated cage with a salary, benefits, and 2 weeks of vacation a year. You're taught to seek your boss's approval as if it were oxygen, to measure your worth by your job title, and to define your success by how much you can consume. You buy a slightly bigger house, a newer car, a more expensive watch. This isn't a display of wealth. It's a display of compliance. It's a signal to your masters that the system is working, that you are a good and obedient subject. You're a hamster on a gilded wheel, running faster and faster, only to find the wheel gets bigger. But the cage stays exactly the same. The fundamental flaw in this game is its very foundation. You're trading your most finite, most precious resource, time, for a resource that can be printed infinitely: money. You are paid just enough to keep you showing up, just enough to keep you from panicking, but never enough to give you real freedom. The entire system is meticulously designed to create reliable, predictable employees, not sovereign individuals. You're rewarded for being a dependable cog in a machine you don't own, and whose purpose you may not even understand. And this game, it's also psychologically crippling. It hijacks your identity and fuses it to your job. When you aren't working, you feel unproductive, anxious, and guilty. When you lose your job, you feel you've lost your sense of self. You're trained to see wealth as a means to consume, a way to signal your status to other players in the same pointless game. But it's a trap, the hedonic treadmill. The thrill of the new car fades in weeks. The bigger house just fills with bigger anxieties and bigger bills. The desire for more is a hunger that's never satisfied, a fire that consumes everything you throw into it and only burns hotter. The person playing the honorable grind believes in fairness. They believe that if they just work hard enough, someone will notice and reward them. But they fail to see that the distribution of wealth has almost nothing to do with productivity and everything to do with power. They are diligently playing checkers on a board where the masters are playing three-dimensional chess. They focus on earning. The masters focus on owning. They focus on a salary. The masters focus on leverage. They focus on looking rich. The masters focus on being powerful. To escape this game, you first have to recognize that you're playing it. You have to unlearn the lessons of the honorable and start learning the lessons of the powerful. The Machiavellian shift is a brutal, but clarifying, pivot. It's the moment the scales fall from your eyes. It's the realization that wealth isn't about lifestyle. It isn't about happiness, which for most people plateaus and flatlines at a surprisingly modest income. It's certainly not about proving your worth to people you don't respect. Wealth is about power. It's about radical autonomy. It's the ability to say no without consequence. It is the power to delete your alarm clock from your life forever. It's the freedom to move without asking permission. It's the power to structure your life, your thoughts, and your time exactly as you see fit. It's the power to walk away from people, projects, and places that drain your energy and compromise your purpose. It is the freedom from having to pretend to be someone you are not just to collect a paycheck. This is the prince's mindset. The prince doesn't see money as a tool for consumption. He sees it as an instrument of control. He doesn't seek to earn a living. He seeks to build a fortress. His goal isn't to appear rich to the masses, but to become untouchable by them. In the prince's game, the rules are different because the objective is different. The objective isn't comfort, it's sovereignty. The objective isn't luxury, it's leverage. The objective isn't a high salary, it's an empire of assets that generate income while you sleep, while you travel, while you think. Adopting this mindset is the single most important step. It simplifies every single decision you make. Before, you'd ask, what job pays the most? Now you ask, which opportunity offers the most leverage and control? Before, you'd ask, what can I buy to feel successful? Now you ask, what can I build that will outlive me? Before, you asked, how can I get a raise? Now you ask, how do I buy the asset that pays my boss's salary? Look, this path isn't for the faint of heart. It requires a degree of emotional coldness and a detachment from societal approval that most people find deeply unsettling. It requires you to see the world not as it should be, but as it is, a theater of power dynamics. Once you accept this, the fog of conventional wisdom lifts, and the true path to wealth reveals itself. It's not more complex, it's simpler, because it's governed by a few ruthless principles of power. Once you adopt the prince's mindset, your actions have to align with it. The following aren't suggestions. They're the laws that govern the accumulation of real power. They're the mechanics of building an empire, not just a bank account. Principle 1. Build a fortress, not a palace. The first and most critical purpose of money is defensive. It's to build a fortress that protects your sovereignty. The common man, trapped in the peasant's game, dreams of a palace, a glittering symbol of status made to impress others. The prince builds a fortress, a stark, functional structure designed to repel threats. Your wealth must first buy you the power to say, no. No to the client you can't stand. No to the business partner who lacks integrity. No to the boss who wants your soul. No to the family obligations that don't serve your mission. This freedom, this absolute veto power over your own life, that's the first dividend of real wealth. It's the air you need to breathe to think clearly. This means your entire financial focus has to shift from offense, which is chasing returns and gambling on trends, to defense, which is protecting your capital at all costs. Smart money knows that avoiding a single catastrophic loss is infinitely more powerful than chasing a dozen spectacular gains. The prince is obsessive about managing risk. He fortifies his assets not just from market crashes, but from everything: frivolous lawsuits, punitive taxes, messy divorces, and the inevitable incompetence of his own heirs. He doesn't own assets in his own name. That's for amateurs. That's putting a target on your own back. He controls them through a labyrinth of legal structures, trusts, holding companies, foundations. This is the modern take on Machiavelli's advice to a prince. Fortify your town so that any potential attacker gives up before they even begin. The goal is to own nothing, but control everything. While the common man's name is on his car and his house, making them easy targets for anyone with a claim, the prince's name is on nothing, yet his will is done everywhere. His empire is invisible, and therefore invincible. This fortress must be built to last for the third generation. The peasant thinks about Friday's paycheck. The prince thinks in dynasties. He engineers structures that ensure his heirs are protectors of the fortress, not just consumers of the palace. Access to the family's power is tied to demonstrated character and competence, with legal mechanisms to revoke control if an heir proves to be weak, foolish, or wasteful. He isn't building a pile of cash. He's building a self-perpetuating system of power. Principle 2. Relationships as leverage, not as comfort. The common man seeks friends for comfort. The prince builds alliances for advantage. In the Machiavellian world, every relationship is a power dynamic. It is either an asset or a liability. There is no neutral ground. A person is either adding to your power or subtracting from it. This requires a ruthless audit of your social circle. The people you surround yourself with are either pushing you forward or holding you back. You have to adopt what some call the law of ruthless removal. People who are toxic, pessimistic, perpetually in crisis, or who secretly resent your ambition are negative return assets. They drain your most valuable resource, your focused energy. You must cut these ties without sentimentality. It may feel cruel, but in this context, niceness is financial suicide. The prince sees networking not as a social activity, but as the mapping and cultivation of human leverage. He builds relationships with people who possess unique skills, influence, or resources. But his generosity is always calculated patronage. He gives value first, creating a web of obligation, gratitude, and loyalty. He understands that people don't just work for money. They work for status, for belonging, for access. They work to not lose the comfort and security that being in the prince's orbit provides. He uses this knowledge to bind the most talented people to his cause. This mindset extends to every interaction. A negotiation isn't a discussion. It's a strategic maneuver to secure a superior position. A contract isn't a sign of trust. It's a document that anticipates and prepares for betrayal. Machiavelli famously wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved, because love is fickle, held by a chain of obligation that is broken at every opportunity for self-interest. But the fear of consequences is constant. This doesn't mean inspiring terror, but it does mean your reputation must be one of unwavering resolve. People must know your word is bond, and that crossing you has a predictable and unpleasant cost. Your circle must be small and potent. A large circle of acquaintances is a vulnerability. You seek counsel only from those who have built empires themselves, not from those who teach theory. A secret shared with someone who can't keep it is a weapon gifted to a future enemy. Your true inner circle should be a handful of people who are as disciplined, ambitious, and formidable as you are. Everyone else is either a tool, an ally, or an obstacle. Classify them accordingly and act accordingly. Principle 3. Action over optics. The average person is obsessed with looking wealthy. He drives the luxury car before he can afford the insurance. He wears the designer watch on a wrist that's never built a real asset. He posts photos from expensive holidays paid for with debt. He fundamentally confuses the symbols of success with success itself. The prince is concerned only with accumulating power, and he knows that power is most effective when it is unseen. He operates in silence, building his empire in the shadows. He knows that premature recognition is a liability. It paints a target on your back and invites envy, competition, and scrutiny. While the masses are desperately broadcasting their every little win on social media for a temporary hit of validation, the master is quietly acquiring assets, skills, and leverage. The prince prioritizes what works over what looks good. He lives well below his means, not out of cheapness, but out of pure strategy. Every dollar not spent on consumption is a soldier he can deploy to conquer new territory, while the common man uses debt as a chain to buy liabilities that impress his neighbors. The prince uses debt as a weapon to acquire cash-flowing assets, businesses, real estate, entire supply chains. He understands the profound difference between appearing rich and becoming powerful. This principle demands that you go to war with your own ego. The desire for applause, for recognition, for being seen as successful is a profound weakness. The prince systematically kills his need for external validation. He lets outcomes, profit, market share, control, speak for themselves. He lets people underestimate him, seeing their misjudgment as a powerful strategic advantage. Nothing is more dangerous than a man whose power you can't accurately measure. While they're focused on his modest car, he's focused on acquiring the company they work for. He focuses on building systems, not just stacking money. A man who trades his hours for money is a mercenary, forever dependent on the next battle. A man who builds systems becomes a ruler. These systems, whether they are automated businesses, investment portfolios, or intellectual property, must be designed to generate value without his direct, hourly input. The goal is to make his wealth self-replicating, to create an architecture of perpetual leverage. While others are busy with the labor, he's focused on the leverage. Principle 4. Fortune favors. The prepared Machiavelli wrote that fortune, or luck, governs half of all human affairs. The other half is governed by virtue, a potent combination of skill, preparedness, and audacity. The common man either prays for good fortune or curses his bad luck. The prince does neither. He respects fortune as a powerful, chaotic force, but he doesn't rely on it. Instead, he builds dams to contain its floods and canals, to channel its power for his own purposes. This means preparing for winter in the middle of a glorious summer. When the economy is booming and everyone is euphoric, the prince isn't celebrating. He's stress-testing his fortress. He's war-gaming recessions. He diversifies, not just across asset classes, but across currencies, countries, and political systems. He builds options and escape routes into every major decision, ensuring he has multiple ways to win, no matter what the world throws at him. He holds more cash than seems rational, knowing that cash is oxygen during a fire. It also means seeing trouble early. Most people wait until their industry is being disrupted, their job is obsolete, or their investments have already collapsed before they react. By then, it's too late. They're forced to act out of panic, making them weak and predictable. The prince cultivates the ability to see what's coming before it arrives. He is a relentless student of history, technology, and human nature. He recognizes that patterns repeat. He acts when the path is still clear, positioning himself before the danger is obvious to the herd. And when fortune does present an opportunity, often disguised as a crisis, the prince acts with decisive, calculated aggression. Machiavelli wrote that fortune is a woman. To master her, you must treat her roughly. In modern terms, it means you have to force luck. This isn't about blind gambling. It's about creating the conditions for luck to strike. It's the kind of luck that finds those who are constantly learning, building, and positioning. It's the kind of luck that favors those who can see valuable patterns where others only see chaos. And finally, it's the kind of luck that hunts you down, because your name itself has become a center of gravity for opportunity. Hesitation is fatal. While the weak hesitate, and the foolish jump in impulsively. The prince strikes when his preparations and the opportunity are perfectly aligned. No sooner, no later. His timing is a discipline, a blend of infinite patience and sudden, overwhelming force. He understands that in the game of power, the one who adapts to the times prospers. His job isn't to complain about how the world is changing. His job is to become the kind of man who thrives in any world. If this resonates with you, if you feel a fire in your gut because you are tired of playing a game you can't win, then subscribe. This channel is a forge for those who are ready to abandon comforting illusions and embrace the hard realities of power. Share this video with one person you know who is ready to stop being a pawn and start becoming a player. So, in the end, you stand at a crossroads with two distinct paths before you. The first is the path of the crowd. It is wide, well-trodden, and comfortable. It's a life of hard work serving someone else's empire, a life of chasing fleeting status through consumption, a life of quiet desperation, wondering why your best efforts never seem to lead to true freedom. It is the path of the peasant, who works the land his entire life but never owns it. It ends with regret. The second is the path of the prince. It is narrow, lonely, and demanding. It's a path of strategic action, disciplined patience, and a ruthless focus on acquiring power. It's a simpler path, not because it's easier, but because its goal is singular and clear. Absolute sovereignty. The rich aren't better people. They are harder people. They have a greater capacity for enduring pain, isolation, and delayed gratification. They endure when others retreat. The psychological barriers are the true gatekeepers of wealth. Most people understand what they need to do. They can read the books, watch the videos. They just can't bring themselves to actually do it. They can't endure the discomfort of being different, the isolation of thinking for themselves, the long, silent years of building in the dark. They choose social harmony over cold truth and immediate comfort over long-term consequence. The choice is yours, and it must be made every single day. You can keep playing the game you were taught, the game designed for you to lose. Or you can change the game. You can stop trading your life for a living and start building an empire. You can stop seeking approval and start commanding respect. The world doesn't withhold wealth from you out of cruelty. It does it out of pure, cosmic indifference. It simply and always rewards those who understand and master the timeless laws of power.